Hi, my name's Valerie Ford with Keller Williams Realty in Charlottesville, Virginia, and this is my second ever video blog, so please be patient with me, and I promise they'll get better. But what I want to talk to you about today is the home buying process, and I know for all you first-time home buyers out there that you have a lot of questions, and I get a lot of, I don't know what the process is, I don't know where to start. What should I do? How should I prepare for buying a home? So I'm going to try to answer all of those questions for you. So the first step, first and foremost, is that you want to go talk to a mortgage broker and get pre-qualified. And you can start that 6 months down the road, a year down the road. You don't have to wait right before you need to purchase a home in order to do that, because a lot of times there might be issues on your credit that come up that you didn't know were there. And it gives you the time to get those issues resolved so you're not pushing any deadlines if you have to get out of a lease or you're relocating. So first go talk to a mortgage broker and see what you need to do in order to prepare for the sale. A lot of times you'll have to get your tax returns together. Typically it's the past 2 years. You'll have to get 2 months worth of bank statements, a month's worth of pay stubs, and let me think what else you'll have to get. Any assets, bank account verification, stocks, 401ks, to be able to prove that you have money in the bank. So that's really the first step, is go meet with a mortgage broker and get pre-qualified. And once you have that down packed, then you can start looking at properties if that's the time, or you can kind of search around online, or really you can need to speak to your agent about setting up different searches based off of what criteria you qualify for. And a good agent should know, what boundaries not to push as far as pricing and how to get you the right home and in the right area that would work for you. And so what you'll do is you'll start getting properties, coming in and looking at them, and then you'll narrow it down to a specific area, price point, room count that you like, and then it's time to start looking. And once you identify a property, the next thing is to write an offer. So your agent will go through and they will see comparable properties in the area that have sold recently, and that's where your offer will be based off of. So anything that's active on the market does not count for a price point when you're placing an offer. It has to be properties that have recently sold, and that's what you're going to base your offer off of. So what happens next is that you'll write the offer, or your agent will write the offer, and then you will sign it, and you'll have to put down what's called an earnest money deposit. And typically it's 1% of the purchase price. Investors like to put down, $500 to keep their cash outlay at a minimum. It really depends on what your comfort level is and what you're able to do. And so you put down the earnest money deposit, you submit your offer, and the seller will they'll accept it, counter it with a higher price or terms. They might say that they're not going to pay 3% towards your closing cost, or they're not going to allow any repairs on the property, or I don't know what all the different contingencies are. They might have to change the date, the actual closing date on the contract. And so you'll go back and forth until you get what's called a ratified contract. And once you have that, the next step is that you'll pick out a title company or an attorney's office that will handle the closing. And what the attorney's office will do is they'll prepare what's called a HUD, which is basically the cost breakdown of your loan, or the closing costs to actually procure the property. So it'll have the recordation of the deed, the title search and exam fees, the attorney closing fees. It will all be broken down on that, and you'll actually get that in a good faith estimate from your lender as well. So all the paperwork will go over to the title company. And then typically if you have a home inspection, your period will start then. So if you have to have a home inspection within 5 days or 7 days, your agent needs to go ahead and schedule that and get on top of making sure that gets taken care of. Because if anything comes up in the home inspection, if the roof is failing, if the plumbing's leaking, or the electrical needs to be updated, or the porch needs another support, or drains are clogged, that'll all come up in the home inspection. And then what happens next is they'll do an agreed repairs addendum, where you'll be able to ask the seller to fix those issues with the property. And sometimes the seller will fix them and sometimes they won't. And at that point, you'll have a decision whether you want to terminate the contract or to move forward with the repairs the seller is agreeing to do. So that's the first hurdle that you overcome once the property is under contract, is the home inspection contingency. So the next contingency will come up is your financing. So your mortgage broker actually will need to have a full underwriting approval to release the second financing contingency. And typically there's a date put in there. It's either 15 days or 30 days from ratification, depending on the length of the contract. So you just want to make sure that you're hitting all those deadlines, because if you miss them, then they just go away. So if anything were to come up, you have no option to get out of the contract. So once you hit the financing contingency, the loan's approved, everything's good to go, then you go into what's called a pended contract. And so at that point, it's smooth sailing all the way to the closing table, unless the next thing that happens is the seller will order a termite inspection. If there are termites, then I believe the contract says that they have to remedy it up to $1,000. And if it exceeds that cost, then the seller has the option to terminate the contract. And that has only happened one time in my entire real estate career. And the seller did end up doing a termite repair. Actually, I think it was a mold. It wasn't a termite. This particular situation was a mold, because I think it's a wood destroying organism report. And so that's either a termite or mold or fungus. So, but that's the other hurdle that comes up. And typically, if it's termite, the seller is obligated to treat the termites. And the range varies depending on the amount of damage and how bad the infestation is. So once that's done, you'll be provided with a copy of that report, and you'll go to the closing table. So the day of closing is there, and what do? That's the biggest question. Can I write a personal check for closing? Do I have to bring cash? No, and no. You need to go to your bank and you need to get a certified check written to the name of the title company. So here in Charlottesville, in our office, we use Closure Title and Escrow. So Closure would give you a HUD, and it would tell you the bottom line of what you have to bring to closing, and then you would go to your bank and you would get a check for that amount. So say $5,000. So you get a certified check made out to Closure Title for $5,000, and that's what you bring to closing. And you sign all your documents, and the closing officer will go through detail by detail, line item by line item. And once you get to the bottom, and you sign everything and give the check to the closing company. In Virginia, the property is still not yours. And it's a terrible rule, but it's not. So what happens is the closing company actually has to go down to the courthouse and record the new deed. And once that happens, the keys will be turned over to you and you can move into your new home. So that is the home buying process in a nutshell, from contract to close. And I hope that it was informative to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call at 434-327-6900, or you can email me at vford@kw.com. Thank you for watching my video blog, and have a great day.